Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Clerk, can I have you take a roll call, please?
Councilmember Molinar. Councilmember Berg. Here. Councilmember Menzies.
Here.
Mayor Duncan.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Young.
Here.
Councilmember Morris.
Here.
Councilmember Peranto.
Here.
Thank you. With that, I'd like to make an amendment to the agenda approval. I'd like to add a proclamation of Women's History Month to the special presentation section, making that number 3 on the agenda. Can I get a motion from the council?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the amended agenda.
Second.
Motion by Damian, seconded by Chad. Let's go ahead and put it to vote. With that, the ayes have it. Agenda stands as amended. With that, we'll go ahead and move into special presentations with employee introductions.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Hope you're all doing well this evening. Tonight, we do have 2 introductions. I will start with the first introduction. That is going to be our new Communications and Marketing Manager, Miss Samantha Knowlton. So I'd ask her to come up. After she introduces herself, she is going to introduce her new employee to the team as well.
Good evening. Good evening. As you said, I'm Samantha Knowlton, the new communications manager of communications, marketing, and events. And I arrived about 3 weeks ago. Moved here from Tulsa, had lived in Tulsa for several years. I have a background in media, was marketing director for a TV station in Tulsa for several years. So I've done the nonprofit, I've worked in oil and gas, and kind of done a whole bevy of things. And my son just went off to college a couple of years ago, and I went to Colorado State. And yep, yep. And I always wanted to move back here. And so now that he has grown and flown off to university, it was my turn to downsize and relocate. And so I spent the last year or so looking for an opportunity, and this opportunity came up, and was just so excited to come here and meet everyone, the crew. The team is wonderful. Some of you have met at some of the opening, the Woods supermarket opening, and just enjoying everybody in the community. I'm already settled in an apartment at 2534, so my commute's not too bad. And I'm here if you have any questions about anything. I've done media training for folks. I'm crisis communications, so and very familiar with how the media wants things like that. So. And just getting my hands around everything. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me at any time. And I am pleased to have hired the engagement coordinator position, which is Michaela Telk. We'll have her come up and talk.
Welcome, Samantha.
Usually shake hands. Welcome to Are you a big Tulsa King fan?
Tulsa King?
Yeah, you come from Tulsa. You don't know Tulsa King?
Yeah, he was there for about a few months, and they shot all of what they needed for the series, and then they disappeared. But it was cool to have Sylvester Stallone in town for a little while. Yeah.
Thank you very much. My name is Michaela. Thank you guys for having me here this evening. This is my official first day, so it was a whirlwind of new experiences, and I am very eager to start my new position underneath Samantha. I was born and raised here in northern Colorado. I've lived here my entire life, My husband and I own a house in Milliken, so my commute is very short. And my history is in marketing and graphic design. I've been doing a lot of local work for different family-run, Colorado-owned companies here in the past 8 years, and I am looking forward to very much making my impact here in the town.
Let's see why she hired you. Very well spoken.
Thank you.
All right, with that, let's go ahead and move into the business of the month.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So every month we get to recognize a local business in our community. I want to say a quick few words about this business before I ask them to come up and accept the award. So they've actually been growing in Northern Colorado for close to 20 years now, expanding in different communities, and so we're really excited that they opened their doors here in Johnstown a few years ago. They are a full-service waxing studio, but their bread and butter is really building that customer relationship and being really great providers of service. They're also really engaged in our community and give back locally to our Johnstown Senior Center. They also support local organizations such as Heart and Horses and Realities for Children. So they really embody that saying that we have here in Johnstown, which is a community that cares. So with that, I'm really excited to ask Crystal and Eve to come up and accept our Business of the Month for the Screamin' Peach. This is for you guys. And then if you don't mind taking a photo with council. Thank you.
Okay, everyone wants to look at me. I'm going to take a few, so. And I'll give you a countdown. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. And one more. 3, 2, 1.
That's all you get.
Got it stuck in my hair.
All right, with that, we're celebrating a special month, which is Women's History Month. So I got a proclamation for all you hardworking women out there. If you're in the crowd or if you're part of staff, you're going to come forward and get a picture with us, so don't be scared. All right, with that, Women's History Month is March of 2025, whereas women of every race, class, ethnic background have made historic contributions to growth and strength of our nation, our state, our town in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. And whereas women have played and continue to play a critical economic, culture, and social role in every sphere of life, often serving as leaders, innovators, and advocates for progress. And whereas women have been instrumental in securing their own rights and the rights of others, paving the way for the future generations to live in more than just equitable society. And whereas the contributions of women in Johnstown, Colorado have shaped our communities past and present, strengthening our own through public service, education, business, healthcare, volunteerism, and leadership. And whereas the month of March is recognized nationally as Women's History Month, honoring the remarkable achievements of women and promoting the continued fight for equality and opportunity. And whereas the town of Johnstown remains committed to recognizing and supporting the women in our community and ensuring that their voices are heard and accomplishments are celebrated and their opportunities for success are expanded. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Town Council in the town of Johnstown, Colorado, that I, Michael Duncan, Mayor of Johnstown, Colorado, do hereby proclaim March 2025 as Women's History Month in Johnstown and encourage all residents to celebrate the vital role of women in our town's history, present, and future. So I'd like to have all the women that are here present today come forward. So you have to find somebody to take a picture for you, ma'am. And I have the council come down here as well.
You mean short people? What are you talking about? I was gonna hide back here.
I guess we can let the...
Jeremy?
With that, we're going to move into public comment. Citizen comments are limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Please state your name and address for the record. Do we have anybody in person that's submitted in-person public comment?
Mayor Duncan, I did not receive any.
Anything online?
No, sir.
Would anybody like to make a comment before we close it out? Come up and state your name and address for a record, and when you're done, please fill out a slip and give it to the clerk.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Robin Denman. My address is 601 North 2nd Street here in Johnstown. I'm happy to be here to know that I have an opportunity to speak to you about something that is quite concerning to myself and a lot of the members of the community. The reason I'm here, I have been a teacher in the district. I was at Milliken and then Letford. I've been there for 33 years, and I still sub. It's been 13 years, so that's 46 years in the community. I know several of you. And I know with our middle school moving to the old high school, there's a new path of students going in a direction that we didn't see before. And recently, 2 weeks ago, there was an accident that could have been fatal, was quite serious. I'm sure you heard that or maybe you didn't, but there were 2 students from the middle school that came down Estes 260, where there is a crosswalk. They did press the button for the crosswalk light to come on, apparently did not wait long, and proceeded to walk across without making certain that the traffic had stopped. The car coming towards them did stop in time, and they had just crossed the path of the car when it was rammed from the back by a truck that had not been paying the slightest bit of attention whatsoever. And of course, it pushed the car through past the intersection. The boys had just gotten on the other side. It was extremely lucky that they were not hurt. The truck driver apparently was not hurt, but the people in the car were taken to the hospital. I have a friend who lives one house from that intersection, and she witnesses and sees, the things that go on a regular basis. And it's very scary. And I know we all know that the traffic in Johnstown, particularly on that road, is no 35 miles an hour or 20 when the lights are flashing or any such thing. We all are seeing the traffic that has increased. And so my concern, I realize I did talk to the school through a friend of mine, not officially through anything, but did mention that my concern was I was concerned, and I didn't know there was much I could do. And the concern, or the thought is apparently, or the consensus is that because the school is so far from this intersection, it's difficult for them to be responsible, or they won't be responsible for it. My friend who did witness this particular incident was out in her porch, and she actually put on Facebook or next door that she would be willing to see kids cross the intersection safely. And if anyone were interested in joining her, please message her. And there were no messages back regarding that. There were lots of messages regarding the concern of the intersection. And then, of course, the concern I meant for her is that her liability in that situation would be, it would put her very culpable in case anything happened. It would not be a good situation. So I have talked to a number of people about this, and I thought that it would be good to come tonight. I had a brother who in middle school it was junior high then, was walking to school through no fault of he or his friend. His friend was hit and killed, and he was right there with him. And so the trauma of that is a real, I remember that. And of course, as a teacher and a member of the community, I feel very concerned, as everybody does. I know I'm not stating something that's unusual. I care deeply for the kids, as I know everybody does. But what really concerns me is I'm afraid that nothing's going to happen until there's a fatality. And then everything will be appraised and looked at, and something will be done. My first thought was, and many people have echoed this, that we would like to see a police presence, particularly in the morning and in the afternoon. I understand that the police presence is wanted everywhere. I get that. I am concerned, my concern is, and others again, these are kids that are 11 to 13 years old, and they are crossing a highway. It's not a road. It's not like Milliken. It's not like, any of our other schools, including the high school. These kids are crossing that road. That's a highway. And I thought about possible signage, but honestly, the best thing I know would probably, to me, everyone sees a policeman and we slow down. It's an immediate, reaction. It's a powerful reinforcement of the speed limit, which is not, is right now is not being followed anywhere. But I really hope that the discussion can take place before something happens, because again, I guess there was another incident with a bicyclist, and it's just going to continue in my thought to be worse and worse and worse, especially as our traffic grows. And I have, as I mentioned, I've talked to several people. I know a lot of people, and I came tonight with the idea that I would express this concern, kind of see where to go from there, knowing that the issue is such that if people were interested in coming, there would be.
Time's up, ma'am.
Okay.
Do you want to give any last comments?
Last comment is I speak for a number of people, and I feel grateful that I can express this to you, and we can do something, I hope, before something terrible happens. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, Matt, do we have anything as far as the school doing crossing guard duty over there, or?
Mayor and council, I'm not aware of the school district doing any sort of guard duty over there. I could certainly reach out to the school superintendent and see if that's an initiative that they could help to promote through the student body and the parents there, possibly, to help promote some sort of crossing guard system.
I think that'd be great if you can team up with Chief as well to kind of get some viz down over there, if we have the manpower available till we find a solution to the problem.
Okay. We can certainly create some heightened awareness there. While I understand Robin's statement of be nice to have those police officers everywhere, it's also equally as difficult to place them everywhere.
So when you're reaching out to the school district, sorry for my voice tonight, maybe enforce upon or ask them if they could put together some type of education for those middle schoolers. Like I said, they hit the button, but to wait and to do their due diligence. I think some simple education done by the school resource officer and or by the school itself on safety crossing busy roads is something we can also attack at a different angle.
Sure.
Any other comments from council?
Yeah, so maybe Safe Routes to School through the Northern Front Range Metropolitan Planning Organization could have encountered something like this before and have suggestions. So maybe we should reach out to them, see if they have a comment.
We can check with CDOT as well.
Any other comments from council? All right, anybody else here for public comment before we close it out? Didn't have any online come in during that public comment?
No online comments, Mayor.
All right, with that, we'll go ahead and close out the public comment portion of this meeting. And we'll go ahead and jump into the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, I would like to scratch Resolution 2025-07, Payment Northern Colorado YMCA for the town of Johnstown Recreation Center Facility Management Agreement, and move that to new business, because I don't think we have enough information on that yet to make a vote. And I would like to also add on to that, the McWinney Real Estate Company is going to donate $5,000 to the senior center, and I'd like to see if we can do a dollar-for-dollar match, totaling it in $10,000. Our contribution would be $5,000, so I'd like to add that to the new business portion of the agenda as well. I'll ask for a motion from the council.
So moved.
Real quick, Mr. Mayor, point of order. I agree with you saying on the consent agenda, but adding something to the agenda should have been brought up under the agenda approval, period. Am I correct on that, Avi?
Yeah, it's also possible you could talk about the donation to the senior center during the board reports and just get feedback and direction from you all, and then and make a decision at that time.
No worries. I'll make a motion during Mayor's comments, and we'll vote on it.
That would work.
Yeah, and I want to talk, I definitely want to, but procedurally wise, I want to make sure we're doing it right.
Yeah, definitely. No, I appreciate that. All right, with that, we'll go ahead and scratch the previous adage, and we'll move to move the YMCA under the new business agenda. And with that, it was motioned by, I'll ask for a new motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motioned by Andrew, seconded by Diane. Let's go ahead and put the vote. With that, the ayes have it. The amended consent agenda stands as approved. With that, we'll go ahead and move into the town manager report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Hope you're all doing well this evening. You do have a copy of my status report for this period. I would be happy to answer any comments, questions, concerns, other inquiries you have about that document or the day-to-day activities in the town. One other document that's been included into the town manager report is an annual report. And that covers a whole breadth of accomplishments that have been made between the organization being the town council, the department heads, the staff, and the community. Really something that this is our first year starting this. Thank you to Megan for kicking it off. But I think this will be her first and last time doing it, since she is no longer handling communications. So I'm looking over at Samantha, who will now be taking on this task. But, you know, I think this really is a testimonial to some of the great things that are going on in this community and the accomplishments and the direction that you provide to us to accomplish those goals, and the resources that you provide as we work towards those as well. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about any of the documents or any day-to-day activity questions.
I don't have any questions for you, Matt, but I'll open it up to council for questions.
Is this, forgive me that I haven't looked on our website in a hot minute, but is this something that we will publish on our website, or is there a way to have this in print for people?
Yeah, so the annual report, we are anticipating having a press release go out tomorrow. As part of that, we will be loading the document on our town website. If people did want hard copies of it, we could certainly make that available. But I think that provides good value just accessing it on the website. As a side note, I did ask, I received one response. If anybody else wants a 2025 budget book, we are happy to provide those as well. So we'll be getting those bound hopefully in the next couple weeks. But if you would like a hard copy, please let me know on that as well.
Yeah, I'd love one.
Okay.
And thank you for this. I think it's very well done, and I think it should be shared. That's why I asked.
Absolutely.
Looks really good.
Yeah, I think it's really, you know, like I already said, I think it's testimonial to the accomplishments of what staff is doing here. I mean, they just continue to do an amazing job and really make, I think, the organization proud and hopefully the community proud as well.
Thanks, Matt. Any other questions? All right, with that, we'll go ahead and move into the town attorney report.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I hope you're all doing well. I actually have a couple of items for you. One, I want to be sure that you receive my February 2025 report, and please know that I'm going to start sending those on a monthly basis for you. The other issue I wanted to mention, and Matt is probably going to cringe when I say it, but it doesn't directly involve Johnstown, but I think it indirectly does, and that is that there was a settlement in the NISP litigation. I think you all probably saw that in the news. And I think that indirectly benefits Johnstown or affects Johnstown for two reasons. One, it will probably expedite the pipeline that will be going through the town, so you all are aware. And the second reason is when this project does get built, obviously it will create a lot more water in northern Colorado. So I'm sure you all saw it in the news, but I wanted to bring it up.
I don't have any questions. Any questions from council? All right, nothing heard. We'll go ahead and move on from the town attorney report and move into the new business. Contract modification order number 3 of Alfred Binsich Company and Sandra Drive storm drainage, and I'll go ahead and ask for the staff report.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. On September 6, 2023, Town Council approved a professional service agreement proposal for Benesh for the Country Acres Storm Mitigation Study that was prompted by unprecedented rainfall that occurred in spring 2023. That drainage study contract was for just shy of $100,000. In January of 2024, Town Council was provided with an update from staff in Benesh, where at that time, staff had presented an interim project to where that could have been done in 2024 to show the town's proactive approach in trying to address an issue while we were looking at while we were looking and waiting for the final drainage study to come back and provide recommendations to address that drainage issue. On May 27th, 2024, oh, sorry, I apologize, I'll go back. So following that meeting on February 21st, 2024, Change Order 1 was authorized, allowing Benesh to design the interim drainage condition, which is what I just mentioned from that town council meeting. And along with that, that was going to provide storm drainage improvements on Sandra Drive. That was going to install some additional inlets, upsize some pipe, and utilize the existing detention pond that was existing for the Country Acres subdivision. That change order amount for that interim design was $209,646. On April 8th, 2024, Benesh provided a 90% plan and specification for that project. On May 27th, 2024, Benesh provided staff the final mitigation study for the Country Acres storm improvements. And within that, there was 3 alternatives that were outlined. From the original change order number 1 amount, staff had sufficient remaining budget from that change order 1 to assess the feasibilities of all 3 conditions that were provided in the storm drainage study without needing additional costs from council and from funds. Alternative number 2 was found to be the most cost-effective of the 3 options and presented lower risks related to easement procurement, dealing with landowners, and allowed for a quicker construction start time and end time based on the scope of the project. With support by council and staff for alternative number 2, change order 2 was authorized by the town toward Benesh. The change order 2 amount was $191,574, but would not be initiated until January 2025 until all tenants had been moved out of those parcels in the Sandra Drive subdivision. That was procured by the town, sorry. In January 2025, the conceptual design for the alternative number 2 was found that discharging historic flows into the Hillsborough ditch wasn't infeasible because the invert for that pond was lower than the normal running level of the irrigation ditch, meaning that during irrigation season, all of the water would have been backing up into that proposed storm detention pond, and it wouldn't have met its 100-year flow event and constructability. So funding for change order 2 was still in place. Benesh had submitted a proposed change order number 3, which is coming to you tonight, to design a hybrid of alternatives number 1 and 2. This would design the stormwater improvements for the detention pond And the detention pond is alternative number 2, which is constructing the larger detention basin in Sandra Drive in the Country Acres subdivision. And then alternative number 1 is running this outfall from that pond on the north side of the Hillsborough ditch, going down Weld County Road 15 and connecting into the granary stormwater improvements that were installed with the granary subdivision. Change order 3 is for $214,625 and accommodates the additional design needed for that alternative 1, which is the addition that we talk about for that piping network that goes on the north side of the Hillsborough ditch and goes down Weld County Road 15. Funding is in place for this additional scope, design scope, and within the 2025 general fund budget. So if you look on your agenda there, it shows all of the initial contract types, the amounts, what's been completed, and a total running. So as I mentioned, the mitigation study was completed in full. That amount was spent. Change order 1, which was for the interim condition, was fully spent. But that also helped us look at alternatives for this alternative 1 and 2, where we're currently sitting at today, coming with you for a request. Change order 2 was approved. However, no charges have been gone to that amount for the $191,000, so that'll be used and carried over. And then change order 3 is what we come to you tonight for the additional $214,000 for the addition to get the stormwater out of there and function properly, which will accumulate to just shy of about $400,000 for the complete project to be complete for that ultimate build out for the pond and the piping network. At this time, I'll open it up for questions. We're also accompanied by Banesh tonight, so if there's any questions, we have their lead project manager here to assist in any questions as well.
You want to go ahead and have him or her come forward? So I got a couple questions. So how will we ensure that this is the final cost increase? And also, are there any like federal or state grants that could help offset the cost?
I'm going to make a strong statement. I guarantee you, Mr. Mayor, this is the last time I want to get this done for you guys. This process has been a little laborious, going through and then designing one stage and getting it over. There was a pipe in the first one, but it was on a different property, going down 15. And I will tell you the majority of the cost for this one is we have a bunch of what we call test holes so we can locate utilities, so we don't hit utilities all the way down. If we don't use all those test holes, there'll be money returned, but it's been a little tough. And the nice part about it is we're saving quite a bit of money going to this alternative because we're not doing the improvements on Sandra Drive, like all the pipe network we had to put in the first project to get it under the ditch and into another pond and then take that away. I think working with the town has been a steady process and analysis, but I think this solution is the best solution for the town, and it will fit into the future of the master plan too.
Okay, I got one more question that kind of sparked my interest. What are the expected long-term benefits compared to the initial plan with this newer? So what is the expected long-term benefits compared to the initial plan?
So one of the nice things about it is the plan that we're coming up with now with the property was where the houses were, that was supposed to be a detention basin initially. We're minimizing putting more stormwater into the ditch. That ditch gets full. I mean, it goes all the way back, and that ditch gets full, and then we're not having to worry about that capacity increasing and water flowing over into the Klein property or any other properties. So this will then run down a pipe and go into the 36-inch granary pipe. And then in the future, when the master plans built and developments come, then it's just tying it into that drainage is going to take it away. So I think it'll benefit today by cleaning up the Sandra Drive area, and then in the future, it'll help developments move it into the master plan and working with, I think it's Matrix on the stormwater plan, making sure that's in their plan too, what we developed in our plan.
And is there an initial offset from the original project timeline, or are we kind of still on the same?
No, we wanted to build that first phase, that interim phase would have been built probably last winter. But due to the negotiations and the understanding of the project, it put us behind about a year.
Part of that as well was when the town was procuring those homes. and then the residents still had leases that were in there, and so that kind of tied into some of the project schedule as well.
About 6 months.
All right, understood. I'll go ahead and open up the council for questions.
All right, I have a question. So, what kind of engineering are we getting for the $200,000? Because that's essentially 1,000 hours of an engineer's time,
Yeah.
which, since we did a lot of the legwork, and this is a retention pond going into essentially a ditch, I want to know what these hours are going towards.
So I would say out of the 200,000, probably 65,000, 70,000, maybe 70.
I got it right here. So about 138,000 is subcontractor based, to where what Johnny mentioned is that's SUE level investigation to go down or County Road 13. It also includes additional survey over there to understand our layout, if there's easements that are going to be needed, understanding the right of way, and a lot of SUE level. Out of that 137,000, roughly 100,000 of that is just for the utility investigation to make sure that we don't incur additional costs or unforeseen hiccups during the construction phase, which costs a lot more then than it does now to make sure we put it on a plan sheet.
10-4.
That's it. The design, with all the design that we have, all the pre-design that we did, the pond wasn't designed on that side, so we have to do that design, and then just doing the pipe design down the thing. But a lot of it is more about the right-of-way, the utilities, and making sure that we know what's there. Because, like Brandon said, for the design to do it, it's probably dollar for dollar. When you get into construction and run into utilities, it's probably $1.50 to $1.80 more. So trying to just get you guys set up so the construction's right.
All right, thank you guys.
I have a question about the 36-inch pipe that's going into the granary. Is that big enough?
It's big enough for the Sandra Drive. So all the study we did, the study area actually goes all the way up to State Highway 60, all the way over in that whole Sandra Drive area, plus the church we've included. So that storage facility, and we call it release at the historic rate. When you detain something, you got to release it at the historic rate. So that will always be there. And the other thing that we worked with the ditch company, if that pond ever, like let's say we got a bigger storm than 100 years, they're allowing us to do an overflow into the ditch. So it'll get out of there so it won't back up into the neighborhood. So the ditch will take the overflow, and then the 36 will take the historic flows.
Okay. So I guess what I know about all this, you could fit in the head of a pin, but I'm curious as to why you have to keep coming back, that you can't see the whole big picture at the very get-go.
The initial reason was the negotiation. We had a design. It was ready to go to
That
advertisement.
included keeping the houses?
Yeah, and then it had to go under the ditch and go into during those negotiations, we found that was going to be outrageous. We're going to have to buy the whole farm, I think it was. It was pretty outrageous cost. And then we went back and did the analysis and said, hey, they asked us, what can we do different? And so that's when we came back and we analyzed all of the situations again. We thought we had the design done, ready to go to advertisement, and then all of a sudden, property negotiations fell apart, and we had to go to the drawing board again.
But you're assuring us that there's not going to be a change order number 4?
Yes. Unless
Okay.
something major happens and Matt or someone comes to me and says, Johnny, we can't do something, I am not going to want to come back. I didn't even want to come back this time, but
I don't blame you, because it's a little disconcerting to always to be
I agree.
changing. And, this started out at 100,000, now it's almost $750,000. That's
Yeah,
a big difference.
The 100,000 was just a study.
No, it was just a study, but it's like I wish it could have all been in one nice, neat package tied up with a bow. But I understand I'm living in a dream world. But thank you, sir.
Sorry.
Any other questions from council? All right, I'll ask the pleasure of the council.
Thank you.
I'm-
Mr. Mayor, I need to approve change order from Alpha Benesh and Company for total project design cost of $750,971.
Second.
Motion by Damian, seconded by Andrew. Let's go and put the vote. With that, the ayes have it. Motion passes unanimously. All right, with that, we'll go ahead and jump into our next order of business, which is the property lease agreement for 5255 Ronald Reagan Boulevard. I'll ask for a staff report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you do have a potential contract for your consideration. This would be for a lease agreement. We as a town would be looking to lease space temporarily, probably for a term of about up to 15 months. This would be predicated on how long it takes us to actually construct the new development services building, and we are in the process of finalizing the design of that facility as we speak. If you'll recall, we spoke about this briefly in January of this year, and the topic was the simple fact that we are running out of space here in Town Hall. In order to have the adequate space that we need, we are asking for this temporary lease agreement. You'll see the bones of the lease agreement basically, and what it shows is a preliminary lease agreement. We would ask that staff, being myself and Avi, our town attorney, be able to negotiate the terms of this agreement. The actual lease space is at 5255, I think is what it is, Ronald Reagan Boulevard. And the space that we would be leasing is Suite 001B, which consists of roughly 2,800 square feet. It does come with furniture associated with it, so we wouldn't need to really purchase some addition. We might need to buy some additional cubicles, but for the most part, there are a lot of the furnishings that are already there and in place to make this transition fairly easy. As stated, this is something that we discussed earlier, and staff is asking for some guidance if we can move forward in negotiating this lease. Hopefully, the top dollar amount that we would expect to pay would be $8,000 on a monthly basis. That would be full all-in, including utilities, but we would try to negotiate that, or if council would like to set a dollar amount that they're comfortable with spending on a monthly basis as well, we'd be interested in hearing that too.
Yeah, didn't we have a temporary budget of like $100,000 for this?
I think it was for a year's period. Yeah, and I think we'd be able to achieve that based on this. I think there is some flexibility in this.
So,
this lease
I mean, it
agreement.
would have to include also all of your equipment needs as well.
Okay.
Is the moving cost associated with that as well, or is it just going to be like plug and play with laptops, kind of drop and go?
Yeah, I mean, when we look at the individuals that would be moving, we're looking more at a plug and play kind of application. Like I mentioned, there are some desks, there are some chairs there. We may need to buy or rent a couple extra cubicles, but for the most part, it should be just more of a plug and play so that there isn't a whole lot of impact in terms of that moving cost. In theory, myself, for example, I need a computer, maybe a pad of paper and a phone, right? And a writing utensil.
Is there going to be, what departments are going to be moving over there?
So that's yet to be fully determined, but that would probably, you're looking more at administrative businesses or operations that see more face-to-face interaction here at Town Hall would be those type of individuals and departments that would stay here. So things like utility billing, that's going to stay here. Probably planning, thank you. You know, those kind of interactions where there's a lot of paperwork, a lot of plan sets that are being reviewed. Engineering will probably stay here as well until they actually move over.
It's kind of offhand question. Would council want a cubicle or a space to do some business if you had something you had to do here in town with anybody? You kind of have your private space. Is that something we can look into with this space?
With the space that we're transitioning into,
Yeah.
the 5255,
Mm-hmm.
so it's only going to be temporary. We're moving out there because we are out of space here. Right?
Right, we could probably transition that meeting to the new
Maybe
building,
as the new building comes online,
Yeah.
we can try to allocate an office that is shared among all of the elected officials. We've had it in the past, and we found that it was used probably once a month. And it just doesn't make sense, right? I mean, the elected officials is not a full-time capacity.
Right. Like a way for us to say check out a conference room that you guys use on a daily basis. You know, we can reserve it for like maybe an hour or two, depending on our needs.
Yeah, I mean, if you needed access to a conference room for Town of Johnstown related business, we can make that available at any time. That's not just.
I think that's what we're asking for, unless I'm wrong.
Can't we currently make an appointment for either that conference room or the one in the back if we needed it?
Yeah, I mean, we have 3 conference rooms in this facility. We have one here and then 2 smaller ones. One, they're both exactly the same size. We can make those available for you anytime as long as we get some sort of advance notification.
Yeah, I think that was just kind of my meaning behind it, is sometimes we get that drop notice of like, hey, we need to meet right now, and there might not be availability. So if we had a designated area just for council to kind of have those drop-in meetings, I think that's maybe something we can look into in the future.
Absolutely.
Any other questions from council?
So in terms of numbers here, they have, you know, like $18 a square foot for rent, which would put us really at like $5,000 a month. So I don't see utilities being $3,000 a month. What's that extra $3,000 for?
So most of these lease agreements are what are called triple net. So that includes your utilities, your maintenance, and your property taxes. So that's how you get that increased cost.
So the property taxes falls on the rentee? I mean, isn't that what the rents would be for?
That's how they roll in their
Andrew,
rental rate.
Andrew, as someone who's looked into this, it's for commercial real estate. That's a very common, very interesting practice in Colorado, especially. But yeah, the triple net's one thing that they do. I mean, there's a couple businesses in your town that charge it for maintenance, and there is no lawn, there's no nothing. It's, you know, they got a small square, but they charge them a triple net for it. So it is very common.
Well, I mean, seeing as though the commercial real estate is, let's say, not in high demand, I think there's negotiating room, because $8,000 a month. I mean, if we can get somewhere more closer to the 6 value, I would be more comfortable with that.
Okay. I mean, if that's where you want me to start, I'm happy to do that. If you would include that in the motion, and I could let the property owner know, here's where we're at.
Any other questions from council? With that, I'll go ahead and ask the pleasure of council.
I move to authorize the town manager and town attorney to work together and attempt to negotiate the best deal you can, as the lease agreement for Suite 001B at 5255 Ronald Reagan Boulevard.
Motion by Diane, seconded by Damon. Go ahead and put it to vote, please. With that, the ayes have it. Motion passes. With that, we're going to go ahead and jump into our next order of new business, which is Resolution 2025-07, payment to Northern Colorado YMCA for the Town of Johnstown Recreation Center Facility and Management Agreement. We're not going to take a vote on this tonight. This is going to be more of a path forward for you, Matt, based on the council's feedback on how they want to march going forward. With that, I'll go ahead and ask for the staff report.
So I'm sorry, I couldn't hear a lot of that due to coughing.
Yeah, no worries. We're not going to vote on anything tonight. This is just going to be more informational of kind of where the staff wants to go going forward, since this was kind of a hot topic.
So I think the question is more staff wanting to receive direction from council about where you want us to go with this. So as it's presented, and as part of the contractual arrangements with the YMCA, we are required to backfill any loss of expenditures that aren't covered by the revenues. They are showing a loss in 2024 in the amount of roughly $467,000. So that would be incumbent upon us to actually backfill as per our agreement based on their operating costs. It is a deviation from their 2023 revenues and expenditures, roughly by about $644,000, which is pretty significant. So I understand council doesn't want to make the payment at this time, but I'd look back to the council for guidance on how you want me to handle this.
I'll go ahead and open up the council questions, comments.
So what caused this large delta? Because previously we had a small surplus come from them.
You know, I don't know honestly that I can effectively answer that because I am not operating the YMCA. I will be honest with you. I think it would be too much of a speculative comment for me to provide back to you a concrete answer. I will say though that their expenditures associated with personnel have increased. Their expenditures associated with occupancy of the facility, and that is specifically related to what appears to be utilities and things of that nature. Insurance costs, the line items of 2023 versus 2024, they are not the same. They're using a different chart of accounts is what we would call it. So not everything exactly matches up as we would like.
So, oh, go ahead, Dee. Sorry.
I'm going to take privilege here for Women's History Month, and I have quite a little bit to say about all this. The YMCA was billed as the crown jewel of Johnstown in 2020. We paid $30 million in cash for this project. It is far from the crown jewel now. It is unsanitary, and it has a rodent infiltration that I witnessed with my own eyes. The staff is not properly trained. They do not know how to do anything other than what their trained job is. If you want to use the microphone in a meeting room, no one knows how to do it except management, and management is there from 9 to 5. Rumors, there are front desk staff allowing non-members into the facility. I need not remind you of the legal liability if any part of that is true. In 2023, they had a $175,000 surplus. In 2024, a $745,000 loss, while projecting a $605,000 surplus.
So just for clarification, the financials show a $467,000 loss, not a $745,000 loss.
But projecting a $605,000 surplus. That correct?
In the budget that was provided to the town in September of 2023 for the FY 2024 budget, yes, you are correct. They proposed roughly $600,000 surplus.
So we pay a $500,000 backfill and a 15.3% administrative fee that was not reported on the original financial report received by the town. A YMCA employee admitted the financials were, quote unquote, half-baked. Also in 2024, $420,000 of intra-Y allocation appears on the financial report. Our contract specifies no commingling of other Y monies. Is this that? In 2024, the town provided $250,000 for the repairs to the natatorium pool dehumidification system, even though the contract specifies that the Y is responsible for maintenance. This shifts unnecessary burden to the town. Proof of all insurance needs to be provided to the town forthwith. I recommend we conduct a 3-year audit, financial audit, 22, 23, and 24 of the YMCA. If discrepancies are found, the Y should be responsible for the cost of the audit. After all this, I also believe we need to pursue a new management situation, perhaps on an in-house management by hiring a Parks and Recreation Director for the town, who could also serve as a liaison to the new Centennial and Letford projects. I would ask that the financials that have been provided to the town be set in stone, and if changes are made to those financials provided to the town prior to the auditor being able to begin their work, that proof of any change be provided with clear and concise documentation as to why the bottom line is changing. We can no longer stand idly by and let this facility drain our funds and resources. We need to protect our $30 million investment by holding the current management team accountable, or try something new. Let's be the community that cares.
Thank you, gentlewoman from Johnstown. So 2 questions for you, Matt. Per the contract, what is our timeline to pay them for this contractual obligation?
I don't know that there is.
I don't think there is a timeline.
Okay, so that'll add to my second question then. I would recommend, Council, Mr. Mayor, that we conduct a workshop with the leadership of the board, to have some open-ended discussions in council chambers to have these questions be addressed, because I do agree that much of a variance in a 1 year, and with the changing of the accounting software, which accounting software does change, and we know environments and economy of scales have changed, but we need a little more information on those kind of things. And I think, council members, these concerns and questions are valid, and they need to answer them. I don't think any of us should be answering any of them. So I would request a work session with, and I'm not a big fan of work sessions, as you know, but I would request a work session with the YMCA prior to settling this financial matter. And I'll have my voice back by then.
Yield back your voice. Any other questions or comments from council? All right, nothing heard. I think you got kind of a way forward, Matt, working meeting with leadership.
Can I just make sure,
Go ahead.
does everybody on the council, I've heard 2 statements from 2 individuals. I really want a consensus on this, right? I want to be able to count to 4.
Just to say we're going to have a meeting. We're not saying nothing.
Well, I've heard 2 things. I've heard an audit. I've heard new management. I've heard a work session. These are conflicting pieces of information to some extent that say, get new management, let's have a work session.
I think a necessary.
Those are conflicting pieces of information here, and I don't know which one you want me to do.
I think a necessary first step is to have the workshop.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I'm not saying that Dee's concerns aren't valid, but if they can provide that documentation to us through a work session, and then further action needs to be taken, then I think that that's the next step that we take based on what they provide to us during that work session.
Does March 24th work for everybody?
So I'll answer what you asked. I agree with Dee's comments. If there's anything that doesn't add up, I mean, it falls on management, so flat out. I also agree with, and not just for the Y, but we have parks and things that need taken care of. We don't have our own parks and rec. I've thought we needed one for a while, so I do agree with that. But we can start with a meeting, but I'm fully on board with everything that she said, because I've been there and seen the little mice, so.
Are you saying to have a work session is what he's asking?
Yes, but I'm also,
Supportive.
yes, but I'm also.
So what I'm hearing is, let's have a work session. If we don't like what we're hearing, if you want to push forward to get an audit, we can do that as well, right? If we're solidifying these numbers as the final numbers, then we're in a position where we know what the answers are. If you're off by, maybe you give them a variance of 1%, right?
Those numbers are staggering to me. If I lost
don't-
that kind of money, I would be fired immediately, just saying. So,
Yeah, I don't think you'd keep me around.
nope. So I don't like turning a blind eye to it. And I don't like what I've seen in a lot of situations. So in my opinion, we have this meeting and we nip it in the bud quick, because like what she said, it is our job to protect that $30 million investment. And we want people to be happy by joining. And if they're not, then that's losing money right there. It's basic math.
I agreed. I think the only addition, not addition, but just clarification, if we get the right date on the calendar, is that these comments and any other council members' comments and requests get relayed to them prior, so they're prepared to answer them. Because what I don't want to have a meeting and they go, well, we got to get back to you. I want them prepared to answer whatever concerns we have in advance, whether it's financial, operations, so on and so forth.
Okay. Does March 24th work for everybody?
Works for me.
Works for me.
Works for me.
Okay. I will
Also,
let them
one
know.
more question. So let's say leadership doesn't want to play ball and have a meeting with us.
Well,
I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Right.
Let's say they don't want to meet with us based off of, let's say, watching this tonight, and they decide to lawyer up or whatever the case may be. What are the grounds of just rolling, maybe at the next session, right into an audit?
Right into a what?
An audit.
Okay.
I'm also free on the 24th.
Well, that'll be our purview, I think, Mr. Mayor. I think if they don't want, then we get with Avi and.
I shudder to think that they won't show up.
Yeah, and I was going to suggest if you all want to schedule an executive session after the work session, if we need to. Also, my question for you is, this item is on, with respect to a resolution. I know you didn't want to take a vote tonight. Do you just want to table it to a date certain after this work session and revisit it at that time?
I would.
Or
That'd be mine.
Yeah, I say we just see where the work session goes, and then we go from there. And
Well,
maybe,
Pardon me, Mayor. If we had left this on the consent agenda, it would have passed,
that's right.
and we'd be in the middle of an audit. So we are giving them a chance to tell us what we need to hear. Otherwise, it would have passed as part of the consent agenda in the dark of night instead of in the transparency of this council. And that's why I was passionate about bringing it to light, because I don't think we should deal in the dark. And if we need to audit them, we need to audit them. And I do think that that's got to be on the table for the March 24th meeting.
Well, in our contract with them does say if we find discrepancies that they pay for it, so there's no lose-lose here unless there's something not found, which clearly that seems to be in my remedial math brain, how you lose that much money and not be something wrong. So I think we're safe, I think.
Can we keep these numbers set in stone so that they cannot go back and try to bake the books since they've been half-baked?
I think, Councilmember Menzies, I think it is fair to assume that these are the final numbers. These were the financials that they provided to me after I asked a couple questions, and I accepted them as they were saying these are our actual numbers for operating the Johnstown YMCA facility.
So as long as that's the case, then any variation from those numbers that they would bring to that meeting on the 24th, I would want documentation of why they were changed. So
I
they
think
need
it's
to be
incumbent
prepared to
upon
bring
them
that.
to do that, yes. I mean, if they do it, right, and that negative or that deficit is shrunk down, I'd go so far as to say that is equally as concerning, that it's not being as transparent as it should be.
I agree. So I just want to be sure that they understand what we were asking them to come to this meeting with.
They are to be coming to this meeting with answers as to how they managed to lose $476,000 compared to making $177,000 a year prior. Is that a
That's fair.
fair expectation? All right.
Just don't want this to turn into a Scooby-Doo and a gang mystery that we gotta unhinge here.
Mysteries are always solvable.
All right, with that, is there any further questions from council? Also, can we add to a future meeting a Parks and Recs director? Because I've heard that come up a couple times tonight.
I'm sorry, one more
I
time?
said for a future work session, can we add looking into a Parks and Recs director? Because that was mentioned a couple times tonight.
Sure.
All right, any other questions or comments from council? All right, nothing hurt. We'll go ahead and, oh, go ahead.
Make a motion to table this agenda item.
Yeah. I would ask that maybe the most prudent thing to do is to table it to April 21st.
We don't know what the outcome of that work session is going to be.
Yeah.
Well, but if we take it to April the 21st and determine that it has to be, can we table it to, because it doesn't have to be date specific that we're tabling to?
Well, this wasn't a public hearing, but if you are going to table it, it may help to table it to a date certain. But Megan, the town clerk, has indicated that she's agreeable to just putting in the minutes that it's been removed for a work session. So I don't think you need to table it at all right now.
We need
Unless you want to take specific action and bring it to a date certain, we certainly could do that too.
If we get an outcome or whatever comes out of the work session, we can always move the meeting again if we have more advice from staff. So if your recommendation is to put it on the 21st so it's on an agenda, then I'm fine with that too.
So with that, we don't need to make a motion since it's already been for a work session. Okay. All right, with that, any last comments, concerns before we move on?
No, we do need to make a motion. No, Avi, you're saying we do, correct, Avi?
Mayor Duncan, pleasure of the board, but I am happy to put in the minutes that the item was removed from the consent agenda for discussion, and the board will consider it after a work session if you don't want to do a table motion.
But it was put from the agenda. It was put to a new agenda
Business.
topic.
New business.
New business.
Mm-hmm.
So then we have to have something motioned on, right, Avi?
I don't think you need to have a motion for that. If you want to table it to a date certain, which you certainly can, then you may want to make a motion to table the resolution to a date certain. But it does sound like there's a workaround by Megan to just go ahead and put in the minutes that it was just removed for a work session and will be rescheduled at a later date.
Okay.
Either one would work.
That's easier.
All right, looks like we got the optics going forward. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Damien. With that, we'll go ahead and push on with the public hearing portion. I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing for consideration of ordinance 2025-266, adding section 13-10 golf to Johnstown Municipal Code concerning access to indoor water meters, and repealing and readopting Article 6 of the Chapter 13 of Johnstown Municipal Code concerning water conservation. With that, I'll go ahead and ask for the staff report.
Sorry, I had to find my place in my packet.
No worries.
I had to go to the top, and then you got to click on. Yeah. Mayor and council, before you do have ordinance 2025-266. This is a update to our municipal utilities section, chapter 13. It does make updates to some of the verbiage within water conservation. If you may recall, it was previously termed as level drought levels, I think is previously what it was called. Council asked back in April of last year if we would modify some of that terminology. So that's first and foremost what you have updated in this ordinance. So we now call it water conservation or levels of conservation. Second major update in here is the inclusion of an additional level of water conservation. Basically what we did was we started with level 1, which is no restrictions whatsoever. Historically, we have been running from a modified level of water conservation, that is watering 3 days a week based on the number of your house. We didn't have that actually prescribed in the ordinance or in the municipal code, but we have included that. That is now level 2. Level 3 used to be level 2, is shifted down 1, and that is down to 2 days a week. And then level 4 is other modifications that would be approved by resolution detailing with levels of water conservation. We've also included in here 2 other things for you to note. First and foremost is we've had some experiences where our HOAs are being less than cooperative partners in this water conservation. To that extent, we are providing that we can provide them with a notification letter, and if they continue to be irresponsible water users, that we can unilaterally turn off their irrigation system in their common areas. So that is something that everybody needs to be aware of. While it is a significant step, I can count multiple times that I've seen it last year where irrigation was being run in those common areas from the hours of 11 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon, right? The heat of the summer when the grass is getting burnt from the straight up 95-degree heat. That just doesn't make good sense. The other element in here is the inclusion of an additional fee, and the fee was actually introduced in the fee schedule, but this complements that fee that has been in place, and it's a fee of $10. This is for age-old meters that we're seeing inside the home, so probably about 50%, give or take, of our meters, our water meters, are actually installed inside the home. And that telemetry system and the battery system over time fails, just based no different than our smoke detector batteries in our houses as well. We have tried to gain access into these properties by contacting them directly, notifying them that we need to come in and change the battery or change the meter. Some of the individuals choose not to call us back. To that extent, what we are proposing is after notification of 30 days, that we can assess an additional $10 per month fee until they let us come in to access the meter. It ensures that we do get accurate readings on the meter and document actually how much water they actually use in the home. I would be happy to answer any questions you might have about this.
So that $10 fee, is that like a suggested thing? Meaning, is there a cap on it? Because honestly, the manpower and the cost that it would cost more for people not to be able to get in there, you have to follow up with it. I would recommend that it be more than $10. $10 is nothing. If they don't let you in to take care of it, and you've given maybe, like, let's just say two attempts or even 3, I would suggest $50 per month. Because
so this is a monthly fee.
yes, $50.
But if
I mean, that's ridiculous. We're not babysitting. And then the cost that you have to do to have them go back out and attempt. I mean, I say give people 3 chances to take care of the situation, and then it's $50 per month until you get in there to take care of the battery.
Well, because something I was just thinking of then too is if we determine, that they're not letting us in for however many months, then we're going to go back and we're going to get that accurate reading and determine that they've used, in excess of whatever gallons of water, then assessing them for that usage. I just think, if we can work with the residents to maybe nip this quicker, because then in the event that, say, they don't respond to us for 3 to 6 months, and even at that $50 assessment, plus then the overage that we're going to calculate for all of that excess water, I mean, that could be detrimental to some folks, I would think.
Well, and not only that, then they can't afford that bill because it's,
Right.
$800+. So now you're looking at collection costs, and now we're all paying this extra fee, but we're paying for people to not comply. So that's my first point. My second point was on these tiers that you're suggesting, not popular, but with the new bring on of the water treatment, we're not in a water deficit because of that. It was treating. So why do we have to have this is more or less. I mean, I'm okay with 3, but down to 2 or even less than 2,
Sure.
that's a little much for a town that doesn't have a water problem.
Right. So a couple clarifications, and thanks for that question, Councilmember Morris. First and foremost, our biggest constraint is the capacity at the water treatment plant. To give you some sort of understanding, I want to say right now today, we have about 4,800 acre feet of water that we can legally drink based on decrees right now. And we use roughly about 2,800 acre feet of that annually, which means we have a surplus of 2,000 acre feet of water. That is a healthy balance. Keep in mind, we also have a home rule charter that dictates that we need to have a healthy excess of water, right? It calls for 20% of excess, right? So we have that excess right now. I think the other things that impact those different water levels is the snowpack in the mountains, right? So when we talk about, right, the metaphorical, like rain dance and, well, we do snow dances here, right? We're hoping for snow and a lot of it in the mountains. And when you see that on the news where they're talking about the different basins and what kind of snowpack they have, that matters to us, right? Because that runoff goes into the rivers, goes into our reservoirs, and ultimately provides us with water. In 2012, the yield for a home supply share was, I believe, 4 acre feet. We get 8 acre feet off of a home supply share based on the 98 and the 06 decrees. If we have a situation where our yields are changed in half by 50%, your 4,800 acre feet roughly, now keep in mind it's not all home supply, but in theory you could argue that 4,800 feet just changed into 2,400 acre feet, and you have a problem on your hands. You do not have the surplus that you need, right? So our primary focus, the priority, is making sure people have the water that they need to live, to shower, right, for all of us, for each other's benefit, and drink. The irrigation of the lawns are secondary. So that's where you see that.
So I know it's been said, and people have asked this, but why are we not, why are we not, but why can't we make something for future development that incentivizes people to shrink their yards a touch, or a different type of grass that's not Kentucky bluegrass, even though we all have that because that's what we put in, but maybe a little bit of, a perk for those folks, and then guiding new development. I mean, not like they have yards at 4,000 square foot lots anyway, so the smaller lots, no yards, and that seems to be what we're getting. So maybe it's not going to be a problem in the future, but for those of us that we didn't have a water problem when we had our homes built, we've got a lot of yard, and to take it out is very cost effective as well. So I do understand, the issue with the snow and all that, but I think maybe in the future we could put something that would entice people or limit new growth of having water-sucking yards, lack of a better word.
So I appreciate those comments as well, Councilmember Morris. I would point out a couple things. So we do have some subdivisions in our community that have been proactive in reducing landscaping and turf installation in their subdivisions. One of the more notable areas that I can think of off the top of my head is the ridge, the first and second phases of the ridge, where they actually put in a lot of rock. So if you actually go out there, you'll see that they do have small plants and things of that nature that are connected to drip. And what we do, so generally a single family, this is really high level, but single family homes will be allocated 0.33 acre feet of water for in-home consumptive use, and then 0.17 for landscaping use, right? Our bell curve, we have a standard bell curve based on water consumption, and we do actually encourage and permit for people to look at other landscaping alternatives that reduce water consumption outside in the yard. And we encourage that. When they bring those options in, they do have the ability to dedicate less water. That being said, we also put covenants inside of those developments as well to make sure that they are being held accountable to what their water requirement usage is.
And that's standing on the fact that we've all said we keep getting growth, and that growth should not punish those of us who didn't have that foresight because there was no water problems, and now we're being told we have enough water, but not really. And we all have trees and grass and things like that that, you know, lots of people can't afford to just rip it out. So it has to fall on the new growth and like I said, and incentivizing the folks that are here. Like if I was going to be able to do that and get some kind of a rebate from wherever, you know, the snow gods, whatever you want to call it, to maybe be able to budget that, you know, for myself for 5 years down the road or something, so that I'm not using as much water. But you know, the growth is the issue, and everybody will say that. You know, we keep adding more houses and more housings, but the folks that are here that there was no issues prior are now getting to be the ones that are essentially, lack of a better word, punished for it.
You know, so we are, with new development, we do require that dedication of water. Right? The issue is we have run out of capacity at our treatment plant to move that water. So our monthly usage right now is at about 2 million gallons per day. Our water treatment plant can treat 6 million gallons per day, give or take, right?
Is this the new water treatment plant?
This is the one that we have existing right now.
Right, I'm talking about the new one that we're all paying 60% more on our water bill to do this year, and 90% next.
What that treatment plant is doing is not only is it increasing from 6 million gallons per day to 12 million gallons per day, it is also improving the water quality that we're producing, right? So that is, there are constantly regulation standards that are coming that I call them unfunded mandates, right, that are being handed down from the state and the federal rules, right? And they expect us to come into compliance. We have GAC systems that we're installing, right, as part of this new expansion that helps to ensure that we are able to eliminate taste and odor issues associated with MIB and geosmin. But we also have new treatment processes that really help to ensure a better water quality for the end user. I think the one last thing, actually, I'll two things. One, you know, you talk about water conservation in general and turf replacement and things of that nature. We're in the process right now of screening applicants for a water conservation coordinator or manager. I don't know the exact title. I'm not big on titles. But that individual will be focused on doing several things. One, creating a water efficiency or conservation plan for this organization, and also creating programs such as replacement of toilets that are low flow, water audits in terms of how do you irrigate your landscaping to help reduce that water. I can't tell you the exact statistic, but Las Vegas over the past, whatever it is, 10, 15 years has grown exponentially. But they have actually, as part of their growth that they've seen, they haven't increased their water consumption because they've been smart about actually what they're doing and how they're doing it, right? Through water efficiency programs and plans and replacing turf and putting in, right, the xeriscape and things of that nature that really help to promote water conscious applications. So I don't know if our utilities director, Ellen, wants to come up and say anything else that I may have forgotten, because I'm sure there's plethora, or maybe she's like, I did a halfway decent job.
Yeah, I mean, you're speaking of what's really important to us too, those water conservation programs. We did reach out to Resource Central and we partnered with them this year. I know you guys are familiar with the Garden in the Box program. We're also they have sprinkler audit systems, so we'll be offering those to the residents as well that they can do for free. And they have a turf replacement program as well, so we have an option to do that. We are actively looking at this. I will say I'll be coming to you next council meeting to talk more about this. So if you guys have any questions you'd like me to address, I can definitely do that.
Exciting news. So what about this change in the $10 to $50, Matt? What do you think about that? Is that something?
I'm sorry, one more time.
The original, my original point was that $10 is not very much. And if it's the inconvenience and the going back and then saving them from a huge bill that will be in collections or whatever, which is even more manpower, increasing it from 10 to 50.
If that is the prerogative of the board, then that would need to be stated in the motion. I would also note, to piggyback, so I mentioned the HOAs earlier. We would also propose making an inclusion into the section, I think it's 13-54, 154?
154B.
Into section 154B, that actually notes the addition of notifying the property management company as well as an alternative. So it would be the registered agent, the president of the HOA board, or the property management agent is one addition that we would propose having in there in the second reading of the ordinance if you should vote to approve this evening.
Matt, I may have missed it. Did you say how many homes have their meters inside the home?
I don't have
Roughly?
I don't personally have that number. That's, I'll be honest, that's way into the details than I need to be hanging at. But
Ellen
somebody
knows.
hangs
Ellen
in that
knows.
detail.
It's a little over 3,000.
Really?
Yeah, so it is about half our system.
Was that a thing? I'm old and I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was. You're seeing it in the Rolling Hills neighborhood, the Country
In Rolling
Acres.
Hills, there's indoor
There are
meters?
Yeah.
At my house, I am one of those people.
Yeah.
Wow.
It seems like the early development that happened here, they didn't require the meters to be outside. Actually, Roxbury Ridge, Carlson Farms, Corbett Glen, all of those neighborhoods. Yeah.
Wow, 3,000, that's
And it's
that's
built
a
in the
lot.
wall, so it's not like I can just get it out.
Sure. Yeah,
Wouldn't that be great?
There's some weird things that happened, so yeah. I mean, perfect world, we'd bring them all outside, but that's a pretty big number for operations team to tackle.
For the record, you're welcome to come in and change my battery anytime, but if I was to refuse you, I think it would be only fair. I'm really to think more of $100 a day or whatever, but it makes me frustrated when we're trying to do our best and people are saying, don't come in.
It is challenging, right? I mean,
Not a day, sorry, a month or whatever it is, $50 is a day.
these meters that we use nowadays are intelligent meters, and Ellen can talk about how we can track. If we really actually looked, we could see what's going on. Would you talk about that just for a
Yeah,
second?
we'd like to get a customer portal going, but in order to do that, we need to have the meters updated and, reading correctly so we can provide good information to our residents.
How do you change that battery in that thing? I mean, I'm curious because I built a wall to hide it, and so I'm really concerned on how you can get it. Now that I want it to be $50, and maybe I'm just saying,
But
how do you change?
Do you think there's anything nefarious going on about why they won't let us in because they just want to keep using too much water?
I don't think so. I think there's we've been coming at it a couple different ways, and I think it just helps us as an operation team to get in there. This is just another mechanism for us. I mean, we've done door hangs, and unfortunately, it is the age of where door hangs are not the door that the people go in their doors, right? We have done automated phone calls. It's hit or miss, right? Whether people call back. We've tried to make it easy by creating a link on our website. Hey, just sign up. Go to our website. This is the program. If you get this notice, we just need you to sign up. Here's the schedule. You can do it yourself. So we really want to hit them in every place we can to communicate, and we've done a great job with our communications team trying to do that. But we've just reached a wall, unfortunately.
Well, I'm a little wondering because I mean I've had mine for 24 years. That battery is just fine for 24 years?
No.
Okay, so then no, I have never received anything that said that you guys want to come in and change a battery.
Yeah, so we're seeing them reach their end of life. It's about 15 years. So 15 to 20 years is how much we get out of those.
Come on over tomorrow.
Yeah, I
Let's
think
get it done.
Chad might have been here when the last change out. I think it was in 2010 or 2008, somewhere in there. So yeah, we're just end of life right now.
Huh,
So.
I don't remember. Maybe someone came.
Chad, are you in the meter dying business?
No, I just, it is a big project, and it's really important to our operations team. They've really struggled to get in there, and this is why we're really coming to you to ask for this fee. So, thank you guys.
Definitely. Any other questions or comments from council before I open it up to public?
The only comments I have is, and I agree that $10 is a low fee, but I think initially we don't know what response we're going to get. And with the economy and taxes and fees and everything else, I think we start at 10, we assess where it goes, and then we can have a grading scale, you do $10 for 3 months, at 3 months, then you jump up to this, and if the administrative, so that's easy or not easy, I don't know. But I just don't want to shock people with, a bill that they didn't have, because again, our water fees have gone up, rightfully so, for the reasons that are needed. And yes, they need to open their houses up to have this changed, but I'm worried about over-feeing our people, even though they have an obligation to do the right thing. I understand. So I'm not saying I disagree with you,
Yes.
but I'd rather see what happens from the $10 and in either a sliding scale for non-compliance, or we just change the whole thing to whatever dollar amount. If we see from 3,000, now we get down to 1,500.
I don't know if there's, I don't know if there's the ability to step it up, but we can certainly look into that and get back with you at the next, at the second reading. So the way it's situated now, we would need to bring the fee schedule back as a modification. It's not overly complex to do it.
So we can approve it tonight for $10 while you look into the fee schedule and the other things, and on the second reading, we can always amend that at the second reading too.
That is correct. That is correct. And just for clarity, so the fee schedule already has it included at $10, but it was subject to enacting the ordinance that actually provides the authority to charge that fee, and that's what this ordinance does here. If we needed to increase it, we could bring that resolution amending the fee schedule at the next meeting as well, or in the future.
Sounds good. I think to keep this meeting moving along, we'll go ahead and open it up to public. Is there anybody here for or against the application that'd like to speak? I saw you fill out a slip, Mr. Hatfield, so you might as well come on up.
Yeah, as I was reading through everything today, I didn't read all the way to level 3 and 4. So, Jim Hatfield, 345 Hickory Lane. By the way, I have an indoor meter, and it's my understanding they can read the whole block from one spot. In Clear, so I'm putting on my president of Clearview HOA hat right now. We took steps 2 years ago to reduce our water usage by adding surfactant to our water supply to make it so that it goes down deeper and we don't have to water as much. We greatly reduced our water consumption by doing that. And we'd be glad to communicate with other people as to other HOAs or organizations for how to do that. It's helped us a lot.
Jim, I'm sorry, can you say what that is again? I didn't catch the name of it.
Surfactant. Can you spell it? S-U-R-F-A-C, I don't know, T-A-N-T.
Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't hear about it until 2 years ago when our landscape experts brought it up. But it saved us a ton of money over the last 2 seasons. I'm glad to see that now we do our watering with non-potable. We got our water from the ditch, we bring it into a pond, and then we pump it through our system. So I'm glad to see that for levels 1 and 2, there's an exemption for non-potable water. I'm wondering for level 3 and 4, there's no exemption for non-potable water there. Is that on purpose?
I think there is an
So
exemption.
if you look at level 3, it says under level 3, the level 2 standards, restrictions, and exemptions set forth above shall apply. So everything in level 2 would apply to level 3, except for the watering days in level 3 would be different.
Maybe that could be made more clear. In level 1 and level 2, it's explicitly set out that these are the exemptions.
I think we were trying to save words, but it results in the same intent.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of copying and pasting. I think, right, the enforcement agency is the town in this. I think we understand what our intent is. We support, right, if everybody would get on a non-pot system, it would be amazing. So we support what Clearview does.
So for level 4, is non-potable exempt from that also?
You know, so the way I interpret this is if we get to a level 4 water restriction, we are going to be in a position where the town is going to have to draft a resolution that outlines what exactly terms and water usage conditions are. I would go so far to say there's probably a possibility that everybody will be restricted from watering outdoors.
Okay.
Regardless whether it's non-pot or potable.
Okay, thank you. And then the other is an observation that see that was it no watering between 10 and 6 or only watering between 10 and 6? I don't remember which way it flipped.
It does read funky, right? So you are to water from midnight to 10 a.m. and then 6 p.m. to midnight of that day that is prescribed for your watering permissions.
Just want to make sure I understood that.
So
right.
10 a.m. to 6 p.m. is prohibited regardless of type of water for irrigation, unless you're hand watering.
I took the exemption for non-potable, I took to be exempt from those hours.
And Mr. Hatfield, time has expired, so let's finish up with your last comments.
Okay, the last thing is, with an HOA with common areas as big as ours, we have lots of zones, and we have to start really early in the day, and it can, the 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. may not be sufficient for us to get all of our zones. And other areas may have similar restrictions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments for or against this application? Anything online, Megan?
Nothing online, Mayor Duncan.
All right, with that, we'll go ahead and close out the public hearing. I'll go ahead and ask the pleasure of the council.
And if you want to.
Or I'll have the clerk read the ordinance title.
Yeah, and if you want to, you got it, Damien, if you want to include Matt's inclusion of notification to the property management company to add that into the motion for second reading. Sorry, Mayor.
Yeah, no worries. Go ahead and have you read the ordinance title, please.
Town of Johnstown Ordinance 2025-266, an ordinance adding Section 13-10 subsection G to the Johnstown Municipal Code concerning access to indoor water meters and repealing and readopting Article 6 of Chapter 13 of the Johnstown Municipal Code concerning water conservation.
All right, with that, I'll ask the pleasure of the council.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve ordinance 2025-266 upon first reading with the amendment of the town manager to notify the property management.
I'll second.
Motion by Damian, seconded by Chad. Let's go ahead and put it to vote. With that, the ayes have it. Motion passes. All right, with that, we have ordinance ordinance 2025-267, authorizing health, vision, dental, and life insurance benefits for mayor, council members, part-time employees, adding section 2-26 to Article 1 of Chapter 2 of the Johnstown Municipal Code. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing and ask for the staff report.
Mayor and council, good evening. Before you do have ordinance 2025-267. This is a proposed ordinance which was based on a discussion with the town council during the FY 2025 budget work sessions. During that work session, one of the topics was benefits provided to employees within the organization and elected officials. The council was surprised to hear that we do not at this current time provide benefits being health, vision, and dental to our part-time employees and elected officials as well. The ordinance here would provide that we have the ability to provide those health and wellness benefits to both part-time employees and elected officials. The rate would be at basically an 80-20 split. And it would be applicable to both the elected officials and the part-time employees. The program that we would provide and make available to those two classified type of employees would be those related to the PPO Select Plan. This is our most affordable plan that we do have available. In total, for an employee, the total cost financial burden to the town is going to be roughly $9,850 annually. That does not include the payment portion provided or mandated to the part-time employee or the elected official should they choose to take this program. After reflecting on this, I personally think it would be a great option to provide to our part-time employees and our elected officials if they want to take advantage of it, and simply because I think it sends a strong message to our people, to the organization, to the community that we care about the people that we have in our team. And I think that's something important and something that should be taken under strong consideration to make sure that our employees and our elected officials are all taken care of properly.
Got one question, Matt. Does that include our planning commission folks as well? Are they encompassed into that?
It does not include our planning commission folks.
Because since we voted in for them to receive a stipend, I was just curious.
The way our ordinance reads, as it's presented, it wouldn't. I think that the problem is where does it exactly end? Because then you're going to start getting into cemetery committee employees, other appointees that you appoint as a council, the housing authority potentially, the historic society potentially, if those are appointed by. No, they aren't. They're 501c3, aren't they? But there are other boards that you may have a hand in. I would also, one more thing. I would also mention that this would be applicable to library employees as well. So.
I have a question. So the 80-20 split is 80 in the town's cost or 80 on the employee's cost?
It's roughly 80%, and it is the town's cost at 80. Yes.
And roughly speaking, then, so the town then pays 9,000, and that's that 80%. That's not the total cost.
Correct.
Gotcha. Thank you for the clarification.
And that's a roundabout number.
I'm actually curious that the high deductible plan isn't the most affordable.
So the PPO Select is a pretty unique plan, and basically what it does is it limits certain companies that you can go to as a PPO. You could still go to company X, but you're going to pay the full burden, right?
Gotcha.
Whereas it says, hey, you can go to A, B, and C providers.
Only in network.
It's a limited it's a more narrowly defined network.
Gotcha.
I think the challenge that we had inside of the high deductible plan is that the town does provide a health savings account associated with that high deductible plan, and we were struggling with the element of if our elected officials took advantage of it, does that qualify as additional salary? And we're in a position, right, where the code, and Avi can talk about this, but it distinctly references salary versus benefits in the home rule charter.
I think
almost intentionally, and that's why we are looking at it the way we are.
Yeah, and that's fine. Maybe it's just not something that's offered to elected officials, and that's fine. Thank you for the clarification.
Matt, did you find out about the a la carte option? Meaning that someone might want dental but not vision, or health not dental, or...
I did not. Sorry.
Okay, because that, I think, is impactful.
Mm-hmm. We can look into that.
Any other questions or comments from council? All right, nothing heard. I'll go ahead and open it up. Is there anybody for or against this ordinance? All right, nothing heard. Anything online?
Nothing online.
All right, with that, we'll go ahead and close this public hearing. I'll go ahead and ask the pleasure of the council.
I move to approve ordinance 2025-267 as presented on the first reading.
Second.
Motion by Diane, seconded by... Have the clerk read the ordinance title. Sorry, it's been a little late night tonight.
Town of Johnstown Ordinance 2025-267, an ordinance authorizing health, vision, dental, and life insurance benefits for the mayor, council members, and part-time employees, and adding Section 2-26 to Article 1 of Chapter 2 of the Johnstown Municipal Code.
All right, motion by Diane, seconded by Andrew. Let's go ahead and put it to electronic vote. With that, the ayes have it. Motion passes. We'll go ahead and open up to council reports and comments. We'll start down here with Damien.
I was just wondering, do we know what's going to come of the building that houses the mental health facility that's closing?
I do not.
Okay.
The only thing to report, the library is working with the school district, our design team on the new expansion to the Melican project in partnership with the school district to expand services to the old middle school. And so we're excited to be getting into that space and looking at expanding services to our users in both of the communities. Thank you.
What was I going to say? Oh, so I have a question about the library snow removal. When we were here a couple times ago, you had said you will try. I almost said there's no such thing as try. You either will or you will not. So I love that statement. But anyway, so I want to have you check into it as far as making it a permanent, because it is a town building, and we had that deep snow, and I just happened to drive by, and it wasn't done in like there was a cutoff where we did one part of it, and there was literally a line right there at the sidewalk. I kind of wanted to fall down and pay off my house, but I chose to be nice about it. But can we? I mean, why is it that we all of a sudden changed it? And I really would like to see about getting that to where it's not something that you just change in the middle of the season, or it's just expected. That it's a town building, and if we're going to rent something up there for more staff for however much a month, I feel like we could just plow a little bit more of a sidewalk that's literally attached to our sidewalk. That's it for me.
Do you want a response?
No, yes, I do. Of course I do.
So I think it's a couple things. I think one, it's a bandwidth issue that we have, right, and expectations. And that being said, we are committed to doing it for the rest of this snow year during the early part of 25. But we are asking if we can provide some assistance in helping them find alternative methods rather than relying on us. Because if we don't fulfill that expectation, then we're going to be in a position where, right, our priorities are getting streets open. They're not sidewalks. That is not our number one priority. And creating and meeting expectations can be difficult sometimes.
The reason I'm asking about this, if we're doing the town sidewalk and we're doing the police sidewalk, it is a town-owned building, so that bandwidth just walks right on.
We don't do the town sidewalks.
The council, the town hall.
Exactly.
Who
we don't
does
do
the
that.
sidewalk?
We contract that out.
That's what I'm saying. So whoever does that,
So
can't they just?
Is the library comfortable paying for that contracted service?
But it's a town-owned building. So
Understood.
why is it the town doesn't just pay for it as part of the snow removal for the town hall and the police station, and then just walk on down the sidewalk so that people want to go to the library, the sidewalks are cleared?
I think I understand it's a sensitive topic, but, right, they have their own dedicated property tax for those operations.
I think it's clear that we need to have another work session with this council and the library board to mitigate this issue, amongst other subject items. So I would say that we look at scheduling another date for that work session.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know enough about it, but it just seems that if the town owns the building and we just stop the sidewalk removal where the little crack in the sidewalk seems a little petty, but.
Well, and I think when we talk about crown jewels in the community, the library is a crown jewel in this community. The services that they provide, not only to the residents here, to anybody within the district, the library district. So.
I agree, crown jewel. Here we go. Work session.
All right, I have nothing to report. Have a great night.
We gotta get back to the babies.
I do. I'm ready.
All right, well, I want to entertain a motion since the McWinney Real Estate Company is going to be donating $5,000 to the senior center. I'd like to see if we could do a dollar for dollar match, totaling it in $10,000 that we could present in a big lottery check to the senior center. I'll ask the pleasure of the council to make a motion.
I love that idea. I just want a clarifying question. Is it a restricted fund, general fund? Where's this money going? I think it's a great idea. The senior center needs it, but I think before we do that, we just need to say, is it just they spend it of whatever they want, or is it a certain need?
So they have like an EIN number, so they could sit in their overall fund if they need to take trips, general fund, what they have over there. So they're just going to make a direct transaction.
A specific need they're asking for.
No, this is just specifically a donation to whatever they need, whether it's trips, gas, or anything extra for the seniors, because a lot of them, they're strapped with cash to do certain things, and I think it would be a good gesture with the community.
And then where are we taking those funds from?
Guess I would come back to, is that something we could take out of the mayor's fund, Matt, or would that be a general fund takeout?
Mayor and council, you could utilize funds out of the legislative fund, which is inside the general fund, for providing this dollar amount.
All right, so it looks like we can do it out of legislative fund, so I'll ask a pleasure of the council to make a motion.
I'll move to have a dollar for dollar match on the senior center donation from McWinney from the legislative fund.
Second.
Motion by Andrew, seconded by Diane. D. Or disregard, D. All right, with that, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, say no. Ayes have it, motion passes. Thank you, everyone. With that, we'll go ahead and roll into my closing comments. Please ensure you do your feedback reviews for Matt and get those to Laura, our HR director, so she can review those and get me the information over.
What's the deadline for that again?
That was today, so.
Ah.
No, it's came out roughly. It was due today. But if you can get it done,
zeros all around.
If you can get it done by tomorrow, close of business would be great. Also, I want to acknowledge a minute of Black History Month as we move into March. I want to take a moment to acknowledge and appreciate all who celebrated Black History Month throughout February, whether through educational events, supporting Black-owned businesses, or engaging in meaningful conversation. These efforts help foster a more inclusive and informed community. The contributions of Black Americans have played a vital role in shaping the nation's history, and it's important that we continue to recognize and learn from the legacy year-round. And with that, I'll go ahead and close by a quote by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This time is always right to do what is right. Thank you.